Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. Welcome to the session of textual study of the Quran. We are in the process of studying Surah Maida, which is the fifth surah of the first chapter of the Quran. We'll begin with verse 57, but just a short introduction. We know that the Quran is divided into 7 chapters. So the first chapter consists of 5 surahs from Surah Fatiha to Surah Maida, and only Surah Fatiha, which is the first surah, is a Meccan surah. The rest of the 4 surahs are all Medinan surahs, and we also know that within a chapter the sequence of a surahs is always chronological. So the surah that was placed first in the Musaf was also revealed first. So in this sense we can know that Surah Baqarah, Nisa and Al-Imran, of course, which preceded Surah Maida, were always revealed before Surah Maida. In our previous session we had seen that how Muslims have been warned against the people of the book, especially who had tried to make fun of their religion and they had turned out to be declared enemies. So God had said that, well, such people are not worthy of being made friends of. This is a theme that was also found in Surah Al-Imran, and we are now continuing with the same section, and so verse 57 reads, Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu la tattakhizul lazina ittakhazu dinakum huzuwa wa la'iban minal lazina utul kitaba min qablikum wal kuffara awliya wattaqullaha in kuntum mu'minin. Believers, do not befriend those from among the people of the book who were given the book before you, who have made your religion a jest and an amusement, nor befriend other disbelievers, and fear God if you are true believers. So as you can see that these words are meant to invoke the honor of the Muslims. How can they befriend people who make fun of their religion and make their symbols of religion a matter of jest and amusement? It is the nature of a human being that he never tolerates disrespect of anything that belongs to him. And of course, Muslims who do tolerate it, it's something which is absolutely inexplicable. And the Quran says that such people are not worthy of friendship, and whether they belong to the idolaters or whether they belong to the people of the book, they are not worthy of any friendship. And the reason is that they make fun of religion. Ittakhazu deenakum huzuwan wa la'iba. They make fun of it and make it a matter of amusement. So this is a mention of the thing which they would make fun of, the call of the prayer, which the Prophet had instituted as a sunnah for summoning people to the prayer. So as you can see that in the very next verse it is said, Iza nadaytum ila salati takhazuha huzuwan wa la'iba. In the previous verse we know that the words were who make your religion as a means of jest. In the next verse, وَإِذَا نَادَيْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ اتَّخَذُوهَا هُزُوًا وَلَعِبًا ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَوْمٌ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. So now this explanation is given that how they actually make fun of the religion of the Muslims. And it is said that the way that they make fun of this religion is that when you give the call to the prayer, they make fun of it and make it an amusement. This is because they are ones who are devoid of understanding. So the reason that the Quran has said this is because no sane person can like that if some group calls him to worship God and he make fun or invite people to virtue and piety, and he make it a means of laughter and amusement. This is a very serious matter. So you're making fun of a religious symbol of the Muslims, which is the call to prayer. One thing that I'd like to also clarify here, which is something that we have to always keep in mind, that the Jews and the Christians and the idolaters who are being discussed here are a very special category of people. They are ones on whom Prophet, peace be upon him, had made the truth absolutely evident through his own persona, and they were left with no excuse or reason to deny the truth. And in spite of this, they persisted. So therefore now it is said to them, to the Muslims, that these people are deliberately denying the truth, and they are not in any way, they don't deserve to be your friends. So remember, this is a directive that is specially related to the Jews and Christians of the times of the Prophet, and this verse cannot be extended beyond that, simply because they were the ones to whom the Prophet had conveyed the truth in its ultimate form. Today, in the absence of any Prophet, we cannot claim that the truth has reached them in its pristine form, in its ultimate form, and they are also, we also cannot know whether any one of them is denying the truth deliberately or not. So we must very carefully read these verses of the Quran when they speak of this harsh behavior with non-Muslims. And especially worthy of attention are the words ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَوْمٌ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ, that no sane person can make fun of the symbols of religion of other religions, because this is something that can only be done by a person who is absolutely naive. قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ هَلْ تَنْقِمُونَ مِنَّا إِلَّا أَنْ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْنَا وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَأَنَّ أَكْثَرَكُمْ فَاسِقُونَ. O people of the book, are you venting your anger on us merely because we have professed faith in God and in that which has been revealed to us, and in that also which was revealed before us, and because most of you are disobedient? So as you can see, the verse clearly says that they are venting their anger because most of them are disobedient and do not want anyone to adopt the attitude of obedience and earn the pleasure of God. So Muslims are being told that the reason that these people of the book have become their enemies is that these Muslims, these believers, they believe not only in the book that has been revealed to them, which is the Quran, but they also believe, as it says, وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلُ, whatever was revealed before the Quran. They also believe in the previous books, and this is a distinction which they have. قُلْ هَلْ أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِشَرٍّ مِّنْ ذَلِكَ مَثُوبَةً عِنْدَ اللَّهِ مَنْ لَعَنَهُ اللَّهُ وَغَضِبَ عَلَيْهِ وَجَعَلَ مِنْهُمُ الْقِرَدَةَ وَالْخَنَازِيرَ وَعَبَدَ الطَّاغُوتَ أُولَٰئِكَ شَرٌّ مَكَانًا وَأَضَلُّوا عَنْ سَوَاءِ السَّبِيلِ. So tell them, shall I inform you of people who will have with God a fate even worse than what you contemplate for us? They are those who God has cursed, who were inflicted by His wrath. They are those who were cursed by God and who were inflicted by His wrath, from among whom He made apes and swines, and who have worshipped Satan. They are worse in status and have strayed very far from the right path. So this is what the Quran has said, and very subtly referred to the crimes of those who are making fun of religion and presenting them before Muslims. They are contemplating a bad fate for Muslims. So these were the people who made fun of the Muslims, and they thought that a very bad fate would befall them. Muslims, but ignoring their own interests, their own misdeeds, they would think that, well, we are the guided ones, we are the chosen ones, and hence we are in any case going to paradise. So about them the Quran says that they should know that the worst fate with God is of those who commit such crimes, and not of those who profess faith in all messengers of God and all His books and try to spend their lives according to the requisites of the book of God. So it's like admonishing them that you think that Muslims are going and facing the wrath of the Almighty. That's not going to be so. In fact, it is you yourselves who would be facing the punishment of God. And when it is said that these were the people who made apes and swine, remember this is a reference to the Sabbath. It took place in a settlement of the Jews where people tried to deceive God in the matter of the Sabbath, and as a result, first their characters were distorted, and then their appearance too became close to that of animals. The state was reached when the curse of God embraced both their inner and outer selves. So this is a theme of the Quran that you can find at other instances also, that when they try to be dishonest and try to deceive God regarding the matter of the Sabbath, in which they were asked not to do any worship and not to hunt, but they ended up, as we know, deceiving or trying to deceive God, and they would try and catch fish not on that day but on some other day, but they would actually make those fish available for them on the Sabbath. So this is a thing that has been mentioned at other instances of the Quran as well, and the Quran says that the crime is so grave of trying to deceive God that ultimately they were turned into swines and in apes. And the last part, which says that they are worse in status and have strayed very far from the right path. So this is the fact, this is the reason for the one stated first. They have strayed far from the right path, and hence in the hereafter worse will be their fate. So أُولَٰئِكَ شَرٌّ مَكَانًا, then in this place, in this world, they are of the worst fate, and have strayed from the straight path. So the second fact is the reason for the one stated first. because they have strayed from the right path, and hence in the hereafter their fate will be worse. So we have to understand fully that these harsh verses are they are directed at the Jews for their misdemeanor that is stated in these words. وَإِذَا جَاءُكُمْ قَالُوا آمَنَّا وَقَدْ دَخَلُوا بِالْكُفْرِ وَهُمْ قَدْ خَرَجُوا بِهِ وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يَكْتُمُونَ. When they come to you, they say, we have embraced faith, even though with disbelief they come, and with disbelief they depart, and do not understand that God knows full well what they conceal in their hearts. God knows full well what they conceal in their hearts. This, of course, is also related to the Jews. There were people who acknowledged the prophethood of Muhammad, but in their hearts they would say, if they were accepting him as a prophet, they were only accepting him as a prophet not for themselves but for the Ishmaelites. As far as they themselves were concerned, their own prophets and scriptures were sufficient for them. They were not bound to follow any guidance outside this affair. The Quran has clearly branded its attitude as disbelief, and that such faith is not acceptable in any way. وَقَدْ دَخَلُوا بِالْكُفْرِ وَهُمْ قَدْ خَرَجُوا بِهِ. When they say that they have believed, so from their tongues they would say that they have believed, but as I just explained, because at other instances of the Quran has made it evident that when they would say that they believed in the Prophet, it didn't mean that they believed him as a prophet for themselves. It would mean that they regard him to be a prophet, but not for themselves, for the Ishmaelites. So this was a deception that they tried to work, and it is this deception about which the Quran says it is no less than disbelief itself. They are not doing what is the needful. وَتَرَى كَثِيرًا مِّنْهُمْ يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ وَأَكْلِهِمُ السُّحْتِ لَبِئْسَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ لولا ينهاهم الربانيون والأحبار عن قولهم الإثم وأكلهم السحت لبئس ما كانوا يصنعون. You see that most of them are deeply involved in usurping rights, committing excesses, and consuming what is prohibited. How evil is what they are doing. So committing excesses and consuming what is prohibited, obviously here the Quran has exposed their claim to faith. It is evident from this that it is not unlikely that the oppression or excesses emanate from a believer, or that he is afflicted with something prohibited by religion. However, if corruption, oppression, and committing excesses become a part and parcel of the life of a person, then something very evil is being done with this claim to faith. So at another instances, this aspect is alluded to by saying that if their faith is directing them to do these things, then it is directing them to do things that are absolutely evil. And that is what is mentioned. How evil is what they are doing. How evil is what they are doing in the next part. So this is quite apart from their masses. Even their rabbis and scholars were so bereft of faith and morality that they did not stop people for their sins. Remember, as we know from the Quran, that to stop people from sins and from bad habits, it is the responsibility of the scholars as well. So quite apart from their masses, the Quran says, even their rabbis and their scholars were so bereft of faith and morality that they did not stop people from their sins. And what else was the reason for this than they themselves were committing these sins? So that is why the Quran has said that these Rabbaniyun and these Ahbar, they would not stop people. So لولا ينهاهم الربانيون والأحبار عن قولهم الإثم وأكلهم السحت لبئس ما كانوا يصنعون. Why don't their rabbis and scholars stop them from saying what is sinful and consuming what is prohibited? How evil is what they are doing. So viewers, we know that this is the height of being led into deviance, that not only the masses are not aware of the responsibilities, but the scholars themselves, they are not discharging the responsibility of stopping people from going astray, from not committing these sins. And that is why the Quran says, لَبِئْسَ مَا كَانُوا يَصْنَعُونَ. What an evil thing they are doing, that they are not even stopping their masses from doing things that are absolutely unbecoming. وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ يَدُ اللَّهِ مَغْلُولَةٌ قُلَّتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَلُعِنُوا بِمَا قَالُوا بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ. The Jews say, God's hands are tied. May their own hands be tied, and may they be cursed for this statement of theirs. By no means, in fact, both his hands are outspread. Bal yadahu mabsutatan. So what does this actually mean when it is said that God's hands are tied? It actually means that God's hands are tied in that God is obliged to reveal his guidance only to them. I mean, it is a must for him that he is going to, he is bound by his own self, that he is just going to guide them and grant prophethood and scripture only to them and none else. So the Quran says that غُلَّتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ بِمَا قَالُوا غُلَّتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَلُعِنُوا بِمَا قَالُوا. They be cursed for this statement. They be cursed for this statement, of course, which means that this is something that is absolutely a matter of curse. And as you can see, there are two hyphens in the sentence, may their hands be tied, may their own hands be tied, and may they be cursed for this statement of theirs. It's a parenthetical sentence. This parenthetical sentence curses them forthwith, because not only is this statement of the Jews foolish, it is also very disrespectful to say that God's hands are tied and he is bound to send prophethood and scriptures only among them. No person of faith can dare say such a thing, and that is why they have been stopped forthwith. وَلَيَزِيدَنَّ كَثِيرًا مِّنْهُمْ مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ مِنْ رَبِّكَ طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا وَأَلْقَيْنَا بَيْنَهُمُ الْعَدَاوَةَ وَالْبَغْضَاءَ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. In reality, what has been revealed to you from your Lord is bound to increase the rebelliousness and disbelief of many people. It is because of this attitude of theirs, due to which we have stirred among them enmity and hatred that will continue until the day of judgment. And then it is said, كُلَّمَا أَوْقَدُوا نَارًا لِلْحَرْبِ أَطْفَأَهُ اللَّهُ, which means whenever they ignite the fire of God, God puts it out. Otherwise, they would have kept spreading rebelliousness in this manner. So, first let's take a look at these words when it says that يُنْفِقُ كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ, he bestows as he intends. So, what is actually meant here is that God is not bound or compelled to confine prophethood to some and deprive others of it. He bestows it on whomsoever he intends, which is based, of course, according to his wisdom and according to his own knowledge. And that is why when this parenthetical sentence ends, it is said that God's hands are absolutely free and he is going to bestow prophethood and scripture to whomsoever he intends, and this is going to be based on his wisdom. And when it is said that what has been revealed to you from your Lord is bound to increase the rebelliousness and disbelief of many of them, it actually means that the bestowal referred to earlier by the words yunfiku kaifa yasha is this, that the implication is that they are not ready to accept that God can select someone other than them, outside of their own lineage, and bestow his book and prophethood. So obviously the battle that was going on, the mental battle, and of course the conflicts that ensued as a result, was they were not willing to accept Prophet Muhammad because he belonged to not their own lineage but to the Ishmaelites. So that is why God has said that if you look at this, you'll see that it is because of this attitude of theirs, due to which we have stirred among them enmity and hatred, because of the fact that they have decided, because of the fact that God has decided to give them to the Ishmaelites, prophet to the Ishmaelites. So therefore, if they are not going to accept this, then this enmity is going to continue between them until the day of judgment. And you will recall that the same words also occurred for the Nazarenes or the Christians in verse 14, that's earlier on in the surah. So it is this attitude which produces violent sectarianism. This situation is a natural outcome of rebelling against the truth and also the punishment for this sin, and that is why the Almighty has attributed it to himself. He says that it has been said that what has been revealed to you from your Lord is bound to increase the rebelliousness and disbelief of many of them, and God has stirred enmity between them. So just as this enmity was spoken of regarding the Nazarenes or the Christians, now it has been spoken of regarding the Jews. وَيَسْعَوْنَ فِي الْأَرْضِ فَسَادًا, and they try to spread anarchy in the land. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُفْسِدِينَ, but God never likes those who spread anarchy. God never likes those who spread anarchy. Of course, this is something which is absolutely clear, that these people would strive to spread disorder by not believing in the Quran, by selectively believing only in their own prophet, by trying to deceive the Muslims by saying that when they believe in the Prophet Muhammad, their belief is not because they believe in him as their own prophet, but because they think that he is a prophet who was sent to the Ishmaelites. And this is something which is like spreading disorder in the land, and God does not like people who spread disorder. وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَكَفَرْنَا عَنْهُمْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ وَلَأَدْخَلْنَاهُمْ جَنَّاتِ النَّعِيمِ وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ أَقَامُوا التَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ وَمَا أُنْزِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ لَأَكَلُوا مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ وَمِنْ تَحْتِ أَرْجُلِهِمْ مِنْهُمْ أُمَّةٌ مُقْتَصِدَةٌ وَكَثِيرٌ مِنْهُمْ سَاءَ مَا يَعْمَلُونَ. On the other hand, if these people of the book had professed faith in our messenger and adopted piety, then as its reward we would have brushed away their sins from them and would have admitted them into orchards of delight. And if in their collective capacity they had diligently adhered to the Torah and the Gospel, and that which has been revealed to them by their Lord, they would have found sustenance from above and beneath their feet. There is no doubt that there is also one group among them which is righteous, but most among them are those whose deeds are very evil. So if you look at this sentence which says that they believe in that also, that has been revealed to them by their Lord. So of course this refers to the Quran, and it is evident from this that there is no difference between these books except the fact that the book which is revealed later makes certain additions or alterations in divine laws. So religion is basically a call to beliefs and morals. The Torah, the Gospel and the Quran basically mention this call, and to become a Muslim means that a person has decided to accept all the books and prophets of God, and to adhere to their teachings. The people of the book are invited to this call on this very basis. And the thing that we have to note is that the Quran says that if they had adhered to the Torah, the Gospel and the Quran itself, what would be the result of that? They would have found sustenance from above and from below their feet. And this is something which the Almighty has promised the Israelites, that if they adhere to the truth, the Almighty in this world will open the doors of His blessings. And we have to also understand that precisely these words have been mentioned in the Torah as well in the book of Deuteronomy. So I'm just going to read out a short excerpt from the book of Deuteronomy, and it shows how this promise has been mentioned in the Torah as well. And you'll see that you'll find this excerpt in chapter number 28 of the book of Deuteronomy in the first 25 verses. So I'm just going to selectively read from these verses, and you will see how the Torah actually mentions this promise of the Almighty, that if they believe in the books of God and obey God, how He is going to bless them. So the words are, if you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all commands I give you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all nations on earth. The Lord your God will set you high above all nations, all nations on earth. All these blessings will come upon you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. All these blessings will come upon you if you obey the Lord your God. You will be blessed in the city, and you will be blessed in the country. The Lord will grant that the enemies who rise up against you will be defeated before you. They will come at you from one direction. And flee from you in 7. Then all the peoples on earth will see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they will fear you. The Lord will make you the head, not the tail. If you pay attention to the commands of the Lord your God that I give you this day, and carefully follow them, you will always be at the top, never at the bottom. However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all His commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. You will be cursed in the city and you will be cursed in the country. The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You will come at them from one direction, but flee from them in seven. And you will become a thing of horror to all the kingdoms on earth. So this is what was predicted for them. This is what the Israelites were told, and we can see how effectively and how word for word this prediction has materialized. So, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَكَفَرْنَا عَنْهُمْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ وَلَأَدْخَلْنَاهُمْ جَنَّاتِ النَّعِيمِ وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ أَقَامُوا التَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ لَأَكَلُوا مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ وَمِنْ تَحْتِ أَرْجُلِهِمْ. So, again, this is something of a very, something very eye-opening, in fact, that what has been said here as a promise materialized word for word. And then, Ya ayyuha Rasul, Ya ayyuha Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, wa illam taf'al fama ballaghta risalatah, wallahu ya'simuka minan nas, inna allaha la yahdil qawmal kafirin. Do not be concerned about them, O Prophet, and whatever has been revealed to you from your Lord, communicate it to them the way it should be. And remember that if you do not do so, it will be considered that you failed to convey God's message. Rest assured, God will protect you from these people, because God shall never show the path of success to this disbelieving nation. Now, this actually is the message which constitutes verses 68 to 86 in both these religious denominations. They were clearly told that if they did not adhere to the Torah and the Gospel and the Quran, they had no status in religion. No one was entitled to be associated with God because of association with a group. It is association with God alone that depends upon embracing faith and doing good deeds, and these groups had become bereft of these. So this message was very important. This was the final attack unleashed on the religious status of the Jews and the Christians right at the time when they were trying their utmost to impress upon the Muslims to accept their own religious status. So for this reason, this message was consigned to Prophet Muhammad, especially by addressing him as a messenger. So, Ya ayyuha Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbika. Whatever has been revealed to you from your Lord, you communicate to them. And whatever that has been revealed is something that we know is something that constitutes from verses 68 to 86 that has been mentioned on, and it starts from the previous verse. So, and as we will see in inshallah our next session, this message is going to continue, that the Prophet has been obligated to convey this to the Jews and the Christians. Now this message was very important. As I said, the status of the Jews and the Christians right at the time when they were trying to be, trying to oppose the Muslims, it was actually communicated to them at that very instance. And for this very reason, this message was consigned to Prophet Muhammad by actually addressing him as a messenger. So you see, the words are, Ya ayyuha Rasul, O messenger of God. It is his responsibility, it is your responsibility by virtue of this status to communicate with full integrity, with full faithfulness to his addressees, whatever is revealed to him by God, regardless of what commotion this will cause among his addressees and how they deal with this message and the messenger. And then it is said, وَإِلَّمْ تَفْعَلْ فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَهُ وَإِلَّمْ تَفْعَلْ فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَهُ, that if you do not do so, it will be considered that you failed to communicate God's message or failed to convey God's message. Now this sentence is further emphasizing what was just said earlier on. And the implication is that God has deputed Prophet Muhammad as his messenger to communicate his message. And if because of fear of any reaction, this responsibility is not properly carried out, then this would be showing slackness in the obligation that was entrusted to him. So even the Prophet was reminded that this was his very, very important and significant obligation. He could not have shirked this for any response that he would have feared. So though these words, now this is something that we have to understand, and we have been discussing this style of the Quran at a number of occasions, that at times the Prophet Muhammad is addressed, but the harshness found in that address is directed towards his addressees. So it is exactly what we find here, that it's not that he is being told what these verses say, that if you do not follow this message or if you do not follow this responsibility, then you would have not discharged your duty. So although you might see that this harshness is directed towards the Prophet, but in reality it is directed to the Jews and the Christians for whom this message is being consigned to him, so that its importance is fully understood by them. They should know that it is God who is sending his final prophet for this message, and if they in any way shirk or turn away from this, then God help them. And God also says, Wallahu ya'asimuka minan nas. God will protect you from these people. So this is a reference to the divine protection we know, which as per established practice of God, all divine messengers, they have this protection. Wallahu ya'asimuka minan nas. God is going to protect you, and he will not let these people prevail on you. And then it is said, Inna Allaha la yahdil qawma zalimeen, which means that God shall never show the path of success to this disbelieving nation. To this disbelieving nation. It's not all the kuffars, it's referring to this disbelieving nation. The implication being that since Prophet Muhammad is a messenger of God, he will be protected from all the evils of the devils, and God will not allow them to succeed in any way. So with this we come to an end to our discussion on these verses that we intended to discuss today. We can now have a break regarding our Q&A, and then we'll be back. We'll return to the literal and idiomatic translations after that.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem. Assalamu alaikum for this brilliant session and your explanation. We have a few questions. Amar Rasool, you can begin with your question. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sahab. Thank you so much for today's session. Dr. Sahab, very quickly, I wanted to ask that in our Pakistani culture, there is a usual practice where people get together and sometimes they have jokes regarding different aspects of religion, and people who are more religious as far as practice is concerned, they are more touchy about these jokes, and those who basically tell these jokes or laugh at them, they are thought of as more open-minded or easygoing. So since today's session started with this particular aspect, I want to ask you, how do you see that? Is that also a guna if Muslims amongst themselves are joking about certain aspects of maybe how religion is practiced or how scholars present it, or maybe?
So you see, you have to make a distinction. At times these are not meant to make fun of religion itself, but at times the purpose is to direct your attention to the fact that how people who are advocates of religion have made a horrible mess of what religion actually says. So that is a category of its own and must be viewed according to its own merit. But here what we are talking about is that they make blatant fun. It's not that they are making fun of anything out of any maybe discussion, because of the fact that people who follow these directives are making a mess out of their own way of obedience. But the thing is that they make fun of the constituents of religion. So for example, here the verses that we discussed, they say that they would make fun of the azan, the call to the Muslim prayer, and they would say that look at how these people are singing or whatever they are saying and calling people to the prayer. So they were making these remarks in accordance with their own venom that they have had for the Quran and for the new religion. So that's a category in its own, it's a different category. But all in all, we have to understand that you must show respect to religion, and if there is to be any criticism, it has to be directed not towards religion itself, but to people who are following religion in a bad way. And again, that there is a decorum for that criticism also. For example, at times you are just talking about in a general way and you're not pinpointing someone. So maybe this is like venting your own emotions and discussing how we can see this going on, and maybe we can do something to stop it. But at times you are directing it towards a specific person and making fun of that person. So that is also very unbecoming, because if you think that someone pinpointedly is doing something that is not in accordance with the norms of decency, then the best way is to address that person, go to him, or try to convey your message to that person. That is the right way. So it depends on the nature of what is being done.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Just to just go off this question that Amar just asked, generally speaking, when we talk about religion, it's always people who are following the religion in some form or the other are thought to be conservative, and the other ones who are kind of making jest out of it are thought to be liberal. So that is also another angle where you do sometimes see fellow Muslims, sitting and enjoying themselves at other at practicing Muslims' expense when they make fun of the rituals we follow. So what category do they fall in?
So as I said, that is again something that they are not making fun of the rituals per se. What they are saying is that look at how that person is undertaking these rituals, or how he's doing it. For example, this thing has just come to my mind, that I remember just recently that we were praying in a mosque, and the imam was taking exceptionally long in the ruku and exceptionally long in the prostration. So at one instance we had thought that maybe something had happened to the imam, because we were for a very long time in prostration, but then he got up and we got used to his timings, because for every prostration he would spend quite a lot of time. So when the prayer finished, so some people remarked that, well, what kind of praying is this, that he should have given concession that there are all kinds of people who are praying. There are old people, there are young people, plus if you would like to prostrate for a longer period of time, you should do it individually, etc., etc. And some of the people actually became a little sarcastic. So you see, on such occasions, although sarcasm is not the right thing, but now what you're doing is you're commenting not on the ritual itself, but the way in which the imam or a particular person was following that ritual. And other than that, if you find that there is this fashion in which liberal people, they criticize Islam, I think, as I said, we have to understand that most liberal people, when they criticize Islam, that is, at least this is my experience, it is mostly because of a poor understanding of whatever they are discussing. So I think instead of getting offended, the best way is maybe to get back at them in a very polite way and tell them, if the occasion is such, or maybe later on personally, that whatever was being discussed was misunderstood, and this is another interpretation or a counter interpretation, so that you can discuss. So because I see that a lot of people who are intellectuals, when they are countered with the reasoning, and maybe they are countered with the right interpretation, so to speak, I've seen many of them acknowledge it as well.
Thank you for that, Dr. Saleem. Shabnam, please ask your question.
जी थैंक यू बिस्मा सर। आपने भी बताया, हमने इन आयात में भी पढ़ा कि अल्लाह ने ज्यूस को भी कहा, और दूसरी किसी जगह आयात में क्रिश्चियंस को भी कहा कि हमने आपको फिरका फिरका कर दिया और आपस में एनिमोसिटी क्रिएट कर दी, दुश्मनी अदावत। तो सर मैं शायद इतनी वेल अवेयर नहीं हूँ, तो मेरे नो हाउ में कुछ इतना ज्यादा नहीं है कि उनके जो अगर सेक्ट्स हैं भी, वो शायद जियोनिस्ट और थोड़े मॉडरेट ज्यूज हैं, और क्रिश्चियंस के फ्यू एक दो जो पॉपुलर हैं। तो सर कभी ये सुनने में नहीं आया कि उनके दरमियान भी कोई अदावत या वो एनिमोसिटी है? तो
नहीं, वो एक्चुअली ज़रूरी नहीं कि वो एनिमोसिटी शुड बी शोन इन द फॉर्म ऑफ गन्स and militancy. If you read their denominations, you'll find that Christians are numerous in their denominations. The churches that they have and the difference that they have, they are quite a lot. So this is referring to their intellectual differences, which has caused a lot of fights amongst them. And you don't think about what's happening in the last maybe 100 years. There have been a lot of differences within the Catholic Church, within the Protestants as well. And people have been excommunicated, they have been punished for their beliefs, and even at times they have been burnt at the stake. Similarly, amongst the Jews, at least today, you'll see that they have 6 very important denominations. They're subsects. They are the Orthodox Jews, they are the New Orthodox Jews, and there is then a whole category which goes all the way up to liberal Jews, so who are not that practicing. So you'll find that they are at daggers drawn with each other as well. But the only thing is that at times this is not reported in the form of brawls or maybe fights that end up in physical fights. But I can tell you that this is there, very much there. And it's just like there are certain things that have been hushed under the carpet, and they can just flare up at any time. And it's very similar to what Muslims are today. So the sectarian differences amongst Muslims, if you see them, on a lot of occasions, because of the fact that in the subcontinent these differences have actually manifested themselves in the form of fights actually, and killing one another. This is something which is not infiltrated in other beliefs in this form. However, severe differences and excommunication, which mean that you actually call the other people as infidels, that is something which is found in their sects as well.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
Samina Naeem, you can ask your question now.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. My
Well,
question is very basic, and I think you must have been asked a number of times. Actually, this mention of the punishment for Jews for not following the Sabbath, that they were their faces were turned into apes and swine, also, as we read in this. So, can you please throw some light on that? Because this is something which is a little difficult for me to comprehend.
So actually, this is a discussion that has remained amongst our exegetes, and many of them say that what is implied here is not that their faces and their outward appearance was changed into apes and swines, but the thing is that actually what happened was that their inner nature was distorted so much that they became, as you can imagine, what swine and apes do. I mean, they started to resemble, their inner nature started to resemble them. But if you look at the words of the Quran, it actually, I mean, it's difficult to just think that it's more of their inner nature that is being described here. So not only here, but there are other instances in the Quran where the violation of the Sabbath has been mentioned. And it does seem that this was a physical change of state, and they actually turned into apes and swine. And so this was like a punishment that was given to them. Yes, it is difficult to comprehend that how can you turn human beings into animals, but apparently this is what happened, that their inner appearance and their inner nature got distorted, and this distortion of their inner nature got the better of their outer appearance as well. And they started behaving very much as apes and swine, and this behavior actually led to their forms also resemble very much these animals. So it's like saying that when you become someone so close in nature, you start following something so close in nature, then your outward appearance also starts resembling them very much. So it's like saying that they almost became the same in their form and in their outer appearance also as these apes and swine were.
Thank you,
Thank you for that.
Jazakallah.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Shabana Ansari, you can ask your question now.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम डॉक्टर साहब
वालेकुम।
वल्लाहु यासिमुका मिनन नास प्रॉफिट के लिए खास था या आज के दौर में भी जो दीन की तरफ बुलाने वाले लोगों के लिए कोई उसमें हिस्सा है?
No, not at all. You see, the words are Wallahu ya'simuka. God is going to protect you. So it is for the category of God's messengers. So Prophet Muhammad, of course, is included among this category, and all other previous messengers of God, they were protected from by all evil schemes from God until they delivered their message. So this protection is mentioned elsewhere in the Quran also, and it specifically relates to the prophets and messengers of God. It has nothing to do with today's preachers.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Muhammad Khan, you can ask your question now.
Thank you. Doctor, my question is about the same verse which I believe Shabana also asked. So if the responsibility was for the prophet to deliver the message, I think somewhere in your explanation you did mention that it also goes further into the followers also, that they need to deliver the message also. Is it correct, or is it just for the prophet? And if
no, I mean, go ahead.
Yes, please. So if it is also the responsibility of the followers that they should also, convey the message of Islam however they can. So is it true that it is their responsibility also? So if they do so, will they not have the protection of the God?
So remember, this protection is being, revealed as a means to tell them that as long as the Wahi is being revealed, or the divine revelation is being revealed by him, he is not going to be harmed by anyone, because God is now sending his message through a messenger to the people. And unless that message is complete from God, no one is going to harm you, because that is the scheme of God, that he is going to protect you until you deliver the message to the masses. So that has happened, and now the Quran has been preserved, and of course the Sunnah has been preserved, and the way God wanted this preservation to happen has already happened. So in fact, what needed to be conveyed has already been conveyed. Today, with the departure of God's messenger, the responsibility of propagation of religion actually rests on the Ummah and the scholars of religion. So it's not an individual responsibility, it's not a responsibility that every common man has, it's the responsibility of the state to constitute departments in which the message of religion can be communicated to other countries and to other people of other countries, and they will have the scholars and the clergy at their back from which they can obviously seek help. So this is like a collective responsibility once the Prophet has passed away. But this verse still cannot be applied on any other person, because this is like protecting the wahi from getting dissipated before it reaches the people themselves. So this is like telling the Prophet that as long as you're alive and you're receiving this divine revelation, Wallahu ya'asimuka minan nas, God will protect you from the evil of these people until you are able to deliver the Quran and the Sunnah to the people. And once it has been consigned to the people, then of course it's just the job of the collectivity of the Muslims, and that collectivity, as I said, is reflected in their state authorities.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Just I'll take a minute or two more.
No, sure, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to just dilate on this thing. Like, the common people or the common Muslims, let's say if they are in such a situation, especially in foreign countries where you are a minority, and you come across certain situations where there are not scholars around you, or the state is not Muslim, and you come across certain situations where there is a need to clarify certain issues about Islam and to portray the true picture of Islam to non-Muslims. So in those scenarios, should those people or Muslims wait for getting sanctions from the scholars or to clarify the picture of Islam, or should they convey the message as they deem or they understand it?
It all depends on the issue itself. If they themselves are competent enough, they know what the detail is, they can go ahead and say that this is what they have understood and they'd like to convey. And if the matter is something that they need to know first themselves, then they can of course find out from scholars. It's always easy in these times to access people all over the world, and they can go back to them and then come back. So it depends on the nature of the issue at hand. If they are already competent enough and they have enough knowledge to convey, they can go forth. Otherwise, as I said, they can seek help from people.
Thank you.
Akram Bhatti Saab, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum
Sir, if an imam or scholar comes to the mosque and he says something about an ayah or a subject which doesn't sit well with me, because my learning is basically most of from you and other scholars from Al-Mawrid, and it disturbs me very much, and I come home and mention his name even to my own people. Would that come in this category? I'm trying to make fun of that imam or the
No, not at all. I mean, you see, just don't think of religion. This is the case with every discipline of knowledge. It could be medicine, it could be engineering, it could be physics, it could be astronomy. We have scholars who have theories, we have scholars who have viewpoints, and they present their viewpoints. Some of them you find agreeable, others you don't find agreeable, and you accept the ones that you find agreeable. So take it as an academic and intellectual exercise. You don't need to believe everyone, you don't need to follow everyone, you need to follow the one that convince you intellectually. And if you are not accepting other people or not propagating what they say, that is a choice that has been given to you by God, that whatever you think is the truth before you, and if you have critically evaluated that truth, then that is what you're liable to understand yourself and communicate it further. The only thing is that you must respect other people's points of view. You must not make fun of them, you must not be sarcastic, you must not make your people to whom you're talking feel as if you are demeaning them or belittling them. In fact, you should fully respect them and tell them that they have a different view, and I fully respect their view, but I don't agree with them.
Also, actually, a particular point in mind is one imam was saying something, or a scholar, he came from other city. I raised hand a couple of times. He says, later on. When the session was over, he was walking away. I stopped him respectfully. And I asked him, I have a couple of questions. He said, oh, nothing is over. So he walked out. I got so upset.
Okay. No, I mean, don't get upset, because you see, every person has his own style. There are people who don't encourage questions, and unfortunately, this is the norm generally, that most scholars, they don't encourage questions. They just want to deliver what they have in mind and just walk away. Just think that this is one category of people, Another category could be of people who would like to discuss what they have delivered. So I think just pick and choose between people. People who would not like to discuss, just seek whatever they have, just try to digest whatever good whatever good you can find from them, and from others you can always have a discussion. So you see, there are always all types of people, and we should not get upset. In fact, we should just see that there are certain things that you can acquire from one group of people and certain other things that you can acquire from other groups of people.
My worry is, would that become a ghibat on my part? If I mention his name,
no, that would not be. No, that's not. You see, remember that backbiting does not mean that you mention someone, merely mention someone behind his back. The full definition of backbiting is that you mention the flaws of someone behind his back, and the intention of this mention is to insult him. I mean, you are insulting a person because of his flaws in his absence. This is the full definition.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, sir. Thank you very much.
Adil Qureshi, you can ask your question now. Adil, go ahead.
Walaikum assalam.
In Allah la yahdi qawm zalimin, does that mean Allah does not provide guidance, or Allah will not provide guidance, or it could mean both?
It could mean, I mean, it's called a noun sentence, and the noun sentence is something which is always governed by the context. At times it is for the past, he did not provide guidance. At times it is for the present, and at times it is for the future. So the context will determine what exactly is the interpretation at a particular instance.
Right. Although we're using the word yahdi, which is a muzare, but since it is a noun sentence, we cannot bind it to a particular.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you can say. I mean, it's not particularly a noun sentence. Let me correct myself, because I forgot there is a verb there. So la yahdil qawm zalimin, we have the verb there. So that has definitely to relate to either the present or the future. It cannot relate to the past. It has to be either the present, that he is not going to guide, or he will not guide. So the choice whether it's being of the present or the future is something that will be governed by the context. So I have just corrected myself. It cannot be a noun sentence in the sense.
Okay, sir. But it is starting with a noun, in Allah. So I was just.
Yeah, that is it. But you have a verb right after that. So noun sentences normally don't have words, don't have verbs. Like, for example, Ulaika humul muflihun. I mean, this is like a noun sentence.
Right, because it does not have any verb in it.
Verb in it, yeah.
Right. And so the word excommunicated, does that mean takfir, or does that mean jalawatni?
Yes, that means takfir. Jalawatni is exile.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Ammar Rasool, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Thank you. Dr. Saab, I very quickly wanted to ask about these verses, and also, generally speaking, in these chapters of the Quran, God spends a lot of time making the point that the Jews and the Christians are rejecting this message by the Prophet, and for that they will be punished, and they are committing an evil. So then,
right.
And obviously, those who accept the message of the Prophet will not be Jews and Christians anymore. They will become Muslims. And so my question is, under what circumstances was marriage to women of the people of the book allowed then, since these are, in a way, people who have rejected faith, especially those Christians and Jews who live in the time of the Prophet and have rejected his message? Why was marriage allowed to them?
Because as you see, that this was in very specific circumstances, which means that wherever the religion is going to prevail, its traditions are going to prevail, and that is why when you look at those verses of Surah Maida, they say, Al-Yawm ya'isal lazina kafaru min dinikum, that today when Islam has been completed, and today when it reigns supreme in the land of Arabia, and everything has become clear regarding halal and haram. So now, today, in these circumstances, we allow you to marry from among the people of the book, and that too in a way that their women can only be married to. So basically, as I said, it's like a concession given, and that too because they are primarily monotheists. Remember, the primary thing which always is before the mind of the Quran or God Almighty Himself is that the ones that you marry must be, must have this belief of monotheism. So although these Christians are deviant monotheists, because of course we know that they regard Jesus to be the Son of God, but still, because of the fact that they regard, they still believe in one God, although in a crooked way. So this is like a concession given to them, but in circumstances in which religion prevails supreme in an area. So this is understood from the context. But today what happens is that people don't look at the context, and they think that this is like an absolute allowance and something which is absolutely lawful, and they marry Christian women in US, in the UK, Australia, all these Western countries, without realizing that these are countries in which religion of Islam does not prevail, it is not dominant, nor are its traditions dominant. And on most occasions, more often than not, if you bring a Christian woman as a wife, the next generation would most probably be brought up as a Christian or someone who is not a true monotheist in the real sense of the word. So basically, the allowance that people have inferred with the marriage of the people of the book is like a blanket allowance, whereas the allowance is not a blanket allowance. It's only in areas where Islam holds a dominant position, because this is evident from the context. I just cited the words al-yawm, today when our religion has been completed. These kuffar, al-yawma ya'isa allazina kafaru min dinikum, they have lost hope in your religion, and now it is the time that you can, because you prevail on them, and if you bring a Christian woman to your house, in all probability she'll live in subservience to the Muslim traditions, and as a woman who would be holding aloft the traditions of Islam for her own self and for her own family, even if she does not convert. So you see, these are conditions that are mentioned implicitly, not explicitly, implicitly in the context. But because they have been overlooked, the thing that you're referring to happens so commonly.
Sir, very quickly, if I can follow up with this, sir, is it not true that people who reject any prophet's message during his time are going to go through, like we say, after the Itmam Hujjah is complete, they are going to go through a minor Jahannam or whatever, whatever punishments they are going to go through in the hereafter, they are shown.
So this is something that was meant for the people of the book. You see, they were given this concession that they will live in subservience to Islam, and jizya will be imposed on them. This jizya was a mark of humiliation, that they will be living in subservience. This is all there, and so that is what is at that time the punishment that they had. Of course, the idolaters had a different punishment, but for the people of the book, the punishment was not death; it was humiliation in this world.
I see. So this allowance of marriage is also a sort of a punishment, you can say, that they are subservient, and so that
no, the marriage is not the marriage is not a punishment. Marriage, of course, is a concession given. It's a concession that, you can marry them because of the fact that now they are living in a country, in an area which is subservient to religion, and so analogously we would say that today also this concession should be benefited only in those territories or countries where Islam reigns supreme, so that women who come as people of the book from them in your houses, they respect those traditions and they remain subservient to them.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Dr. Saleem, Shabnam, you can ask your question.
जी सर, मुझे वर्ड इसम का करेक्ट मीनिंग जानना है. आई हैव कम अक्रॉस टू मीनिंग्स. वन इज सिन यानी गुनाह, जो कि आज के लेसन में मोर रेलेवेंट लग रहा है, और दूसरा इज जाती या हक तलफी. तो सर ये दोनों ठीक है अकॉर्डिंग टू कॉन्टेक्स्ट, या व्हिच वन इज क्लोज?
You see, the word ism encompasses sin, it encompasses usurping rights, and encompasses vulgarity. So all these three meanings are implied. But when vulgarity and usurping of rights is mentioned separately, then it just confines itself to the meaning of sin, doing something which is sinful.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
Shabnam, you can ask your question.
Ji, I just asked.
Okay. So, Dr. Saleem, a question I have is that when the Torah was revealed, it being the first book, it was revealed to be perfect also like the Quran, and was it changed by people, and that's why the Quran and the Injil had to come in?
Correct. Yes. So, I mean, the God did not promise the Jews that He will preserve them, these books. So it was their own responsibility, and they squandered that responsibility. And the reason it seems is that that God put up with this was that because a new messenger was bound to come. I mean, the termination of the institution of prophethood had not taken place. So every new messenger could correct any interpolation in the previous book. So because the institution of Wahi was in place, intact, so a new messenger could always correct any discrepancy. But in the times of the Prophet Muhammad, because he was deemed as the last messenger of God, so because no one would come after him to correct any discrepancy, so it was made as a special assignment, and the Quran was preserved as a result of that.
So when you say discrepancy, you mean the changes that the people made afterwards because of...
Yes, of course. They made changes, or they did not understand certain directives correctly, and they misrecorded them. And also we know that at times things which were more historical in nature, or which were more like explanations on the part of their scholars, they got mixed up with the text also. So there were a number of things that they were guilty of. And similarly, we know that the Quran says, يُحَرِّفُونَ الْكَلِمَ عَنْ مَوَاضِعِهِ, that they would change the context and occasion of a verse, they would change the pronunciation of certain words and give them a different sound, so that a different interpretation could result. So these have been enumerated in the Quran at various instances, that what they did actually.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Saleem. No more raised hands at this time. You can continue with the session.
Okay, so now we're going to go and do this literal and idiomatic translation back to verse 57. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu. By now you would have become accustomed to this expression, which occurs in the Quran on numerous occasions and means, O you who believe, or just short for believers. Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu, believers, or those who believe, O you who believe. La, not. Tattakhizu, hold. Al-lazina, those. Ittakhazu, hold. Deenakum, your religion. Huzwa, huzwa means a thing of fun. Wa la'iba, la'iba means a game. So, O you who believe, do not hold those who hold your religion as jest or as a playful thing. Min al-lazina utul kitab, from among the people of the book. Min al-lazina, from among utul kitab, people of the book. Min qablikum, before you. Min qablikum, before you. Wal kuffar, and the disbelievers. Awliya. So you see, the sentence is slightly long. If you analyze it, it actually is saying, Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu, la tattakhidul lazina tattakhidul deenakum awliya. I mean, the rest is just an explanation, which actually tells us that people who have started to make fun, or who have made fun and think that your religion is a matter of jest. And who are these people? They belong to the people of the book, min qablikum, before you, and they also belong to the kuffar. What do? You don't make them awliya. So awliya is the plural of wali, and in the Arabic language, one of the meanings of wali is friend. So do not make them friends. Wattaqullah, wattaqu, and waw is and, ittaqu means fear Allah, God, and fear God in if kuntum, you, mu'mineen, believers. Fear God if you are believers. Wa iza nadaytum, wa and iza, when, nadaytum, and when you call, ila salat, towards the prayer, of course referring to the azan. Ittakhazuha, they hold it, huzuwa wa la'iba, a means of jest and a playful thing. In other words, when you call people to the prayer, they make this call to be something of jest and a playful thing. Zalika bi annahum. Zalika this bi annahum, because they, qawmun, people, la, not, yaqilun, having intellect. So this is because these are a people, these are a group of people who do not have intellect, who do not have any understanding. Yaqilun, they don't have any understanding. Qul, ya ahlul kitab. So qul is like the Prophet being told, qul is say, ya ahlul kitab, O people of the book, hal tanqimuna minna. Hal, are you? Tanqimuna, being angry, minna, with us. Are you angry with us? Illa an amanna billahi wa ma unzila ilayna, except that amanna, we have believed, billah, in God, Wa and ma unzila ilayna, what has been revealed to us. Ma, what, unzila, revealed, ilayna, to us. Wa and ma, that, unzila, revealed, min qabl, before us or before. So what is being said is, O people of the book, are you angry with us only because we have believed in God and what has been revealed to us and what has been revealed before, earlier. Wa and anna, that, aktharakum, most of you, fasikun, disobedient, and most of you are disobedient. Kul, say, hal, should, unabbi'ukum, I inform you, bisharrim min zalika, something which is worse than this, masubatan, with regard to fate, in the law before God. Say, should I inform you of something which is worse than this, sharrim min zalika, worse than this, as regards the fate, masubatan, fate, in the law with God. And what is that? Man la'anahullah. Man la'anahullah, to whom cursed God. Man, to whom la'anahu, cursed God. Wa, and ghadiba alayhi, showed his wrath to, was angry with. Ghadiba, the same as the Urdu word ghadab. And ghadiba means in Arabic you were intensely angry with someone. Wa, and ja'ala, made, minhum, from them, al-qiradata, apes, wal khanazir, and pigs or swines. Wa, and abada, so abada means those who worshipped, at-taghut. So at-taghut is Satan, is the same word as Satan or Iblis, and who worshipped Satan. So you know that Satan worship or devil worship was something that was, that existed centuries before today, where we know that today also there are cults that worship the devil. So this is not something new. Kul hal unabbi'ukum bisharrin min zalika masubatan indallahi khair, and should I inform you of something which is worse than this regarding their fate before God? And what is that? They are those who God has cursed, and they are those on whom God has been angry, ghadaballahu alayhi, and has made from them swines, apes and swines, and they are those who worship Satan. Ulaika, they are sharrun makam. Sharrun means evil, makana in status. They are ones who are evil in status. Wa, and adallu. Adallu means they have gone far away. They are deviant. An, from. Sawa is sabil, the straight path or the right path. So they are those who have gone far away from the straight path. Wa iza ja'ukum. Wa, and iza, when. Ja'ukum, they come to you. Qalu, they say, amanna, we have professed faith. Wa, and iza, when ja'ukum, they come to you. Qalu, they say, we have professed faith. Wa, whereas, qad dakhalu bil kufr, they entered with disbelief. Qad, whereas, dakhalu, entered, bil kufr, with disbelief. Wa, and whom they, qad kharaju, they departed, bihi, with it. So they claim that they have professed faith, whereas the fact of the matter is that they entered with disbelief and they departed with disbelief. Wa, wallahu a'lamu bima kanu yaktumun. Wallah, wa, and Allah, God, a'lamu, knows, bima kanu, what they have been, yaktumun, hiding. And God knows what they have been hiding. Wa, and tara, you see, kasiram minhum, a lot from among them, yusari'una fil ism, showing a lot of enthusiasm in ism. Ism, of course, refers to usurping rights. Wa, and udwan. Udwan means that you cross the limits or you commit some excesses. Wa, and aklihim, they are eating. As-suht, what is forbidden. So watara kasiram minhum, you see a lot of them showing enthusiasm in usurping rights and in exceeding the limits and in eating what is forbidden. Aklihim as-suht, eating what is forbidden. Labi'sa, what a bad thing. Ma kanu, they are, ya'malun, doing. What a bad thing they are doing. Lawla, if not. Yanhahum, or lawla would be why not. Yanhahum, stopped them. Ar-Rabbaniyun, their rabbis. Wal ahbar, their scholars. An qawlihim, from their saying al-ism, what is bad or sinful. وَأَكْلِهِمُ السُّحْتِ, and their consumption of forbidden things. So what is being said is that why did their scholars and their rabbis did not stop them from saying what is sinful, and qawlihimul ism wa aklihimus suht, and their consumption of suht. Suht we've just seen means what is forbidden. So they eat what is forbidden and they say what is sinful. لَبِئْسَ مَا كَانُوا يَصْنَعُونَ. لَبِئْسَ, what evil, مَا كَانُوا, they are, يَصْنَعُونَ, doing or indulging in. So what evil are they indulging in? وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ يَدُ اللَّهِ مَغْلُولَةٌ. And قالت, said, al-Yahud, the Jews, Yadullah, God's hand, Maghlula, are tied. The Jews said that the hands of God, or the hand of God, is tied. غُلَّتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ, may their hands be tied. وَلُعِنُوا بِمَا قَالُوا, and may they be cursed. لُعِنُوا, they be cursed, بِمَا قَالُوا, for what they said. غُلَّت means tied, أَيْدِيهِمْ, their hands. So may their hands be tied, and may they be cursed for what they said. As we saw that this is a parenthetical sentence. Bal yadahu, in fact, his hands, mabsutatan, are outspread, which means that they are not tied, they are outspread. Yunfiku kaifa yasha. Yunfiku, he bestows, kaifa, howsoever, yasha, he wants to. So he gives to whatever and to whomsoever he wants to. Wa, and layazidanna, definitely increases. Kasiram minhum, a lot of them. Ma unzila ilayka, what has been revealed to you. Ma, what, unzila, revealed, ilayka, to you, mir rabbika, from your Lord. Tughyana, rebelliousness and disbelief. Rebelliousness and disbelief. So what it means is that what has been revealed to you from your Lord increases the rebelliousness and disbelief of many. So this is the idiomatic meaning. Otherwise, literally it would be increases for a lot of them what has been revealed to you from your Lord. And what is that increase? In rebellion and in kufr, in disbelief. Wa, and al-qaina, we have thrown. Literally it means to throw or to drop. Bainahum, between them. Al-adawa, adawa means animosity. Wa, and al-baghdha, baghdha means malice. So we have thrown between them, or we have placed between them, or we have stirred between them, al-adawa and baghdha. What is that? Enmity or animosity and malice. Ila, until yawmil qiyamah, the day of judgment. So this is something that we have sowed in them. Kullama, whenever, awqadu, they ignite, naran, the fire, lil harb, of war, atfa'ahullah, God puts it out. Atfa, puts it out. Allah, God. So every time that they ignite the fire of war, God puts it out. Wa, and yas'auna, they try, fil ard, in the land, fasada, disorder. So what is being said here is that they try to spread disorder in the land. Wallahu, and God, la yuhibbu, does not like, al-mufsideen, those who spread disorder. Walau, and if, anna, that, ahlul kitab, the people of the book, had professed faith, wattaqaw, and showed piety, lakafarna anhum, we would have brushed away sayyi'atihim, their sins. Wa, and la'adkhalnahum, we would have made them enter jannatin na'im, the orchards of favor or the orchards of delight. So idiomatically it would mean, and if the people of the book had professed faith, law anna ahlul kitab amanu, they had become full of iman, they had professed faith. Wa, and ittaqaw, and had become pious. Had they been full of faith and piety, lakafarna anhum, we would have brushed away sayyi'at. Sayyi'at means minor sins. Sayyi'atihim, their minor sins. Wa, and la'adkhalnahum, we would have definitely made them enter, or we would have admitted them into jannatin na'im, into the garden of favors. Wa, and law, if, annahum, they, aqamut tawrata, they had adhered to the Torah, wal injil, and had adhered to the gospel, wama, and that, unzila revealed, ilayhim towards them, min rabbihim from their Lord. So idiomatically it would mean, had they adhered to the Torah and the Gospel and that was revealed to them by their Lord, of course referring to the Quran, what would have happened? لَأَكَلُوا مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ, they would have eaten min fawqihim from above them, wa and min tahti below, arjulihim their legs from below them. So they would have eaten from the top of them and from below them. That is what is implied. So in other words, they would have gotten the blessings of the heavens and they would have gotten the blessings of the earth. Minhum, among them, ummatun, a group, muqtasida, which is righteous. Among them is a group which is righteous. Wa kasirum minhum, but most of them, kasir, most, minhum, from them, sa'a, bad, ma ya'malun, they do. So what is being said is that there are righteous people among them, but the wrongdoers or those people who do wrong, they are kasir, they are much more, minhum, from among them. Ya ayyuhar rasul, O messenger, balligh, balligh means convey, ma unzila ilayka, what has been revealed to you, min rabbika, from your Lord, wa and, illam taf'al, if you do not do this, fama, then not, ballaghta, you conveyed, risalatahu, his messages. So idiomatically it would mean, O messenger of God, balligh, communicate or convey, ma unzila ilayka min rabbika, what has been revealed to you from your Lord. And if you did not do this, fama ballaghta risalatahu, then you did not discharge your responsibility of communicating his message. So risalat means messages. So risalatahu, messages of God. Wa and Allah, God, ya'simuka, protect you, minan nas, from people, and God will protect you from people. Inna, indeed, Allah, God, la, not, yahdi, guide, al-qawm, people, kafirin, disbelievers. And God shall not guide people who are disbelievers, or these disbelievers, of course. So with this we come to an end to this passage's literal and idiomatic translation. We still have time for questions that you might have regarding the passage or general questions.
Okay, Dr. Saleem, I have a raised hand. Shabana Ansari, please go ahead and ask your question.
डॉक्टर साहब अक्लिहिम सोहता आमतौर पे उसमें तर्जुमे में लिखा होता है कि सूद, तो सूद भी इसमें शामिल है?
Sood is, or riba is one of the things. So of course we know that alcohol is also prohibited. There were many other things that were prohibited. So suht just means things that are prohibited. So one major thing that the Jews were guilty of, that they consumed interest. So that is why people at times translate it as riba. Otherwise it is not riba. Suht actually means anything which is forbidden, anything which is prohibited.
और एक और चीज जो इसमें बताया जा रहा है कि अगर ये तौरात को कायम करें तो उनको जो है रिस्क मिलेगा ऊपर से और नीचे से, तो ये इसी तरह सूरह नूह में भी है कि तौबा करो और इस्तगफार करो तो अल्लाह ताला माल और औलाद में बरकत देगा. तो आमतौर पर जो ट्रेडिशनल उलमा हैं वो कहते हैं कि अगर आपको माल, औलाद और रिस्क में तंगी है वो है तो आप इस्तगफार पढ़ें. तो इसके बारे में आप क्या कहते हैं?
So this is like a subtle inference which has been drawn by scholars. I don't say it is entirely wrong, but I don't say it is entirely correct also. This could be one of the reasons. I mean, you see, God does try us and test us, and at times He does admonishes us for our bad deeds. So yes, that could be one possibility, but we should not rule out there could be other possibilities. So it's not that if we are poor or suffering that this is something because of our own disobedience. No, at times this is purely a test from God, but yes, at times it could be a punishment as well. So it could be a reason, but it's not the only reason.
Thank you for that, Dr. Saleem. Umar, please ask your question.
जी शुक्रिया सर. ये इस आयत में था कि उनमें ज़्यादातर लोग जो हैं वो गुमराह हैं, तो क्या ये हमारी उम्मत पे भी होता है अप्लाई, सब उम्मतों पे होता है?
No, I mean you can see that this is a very specific Quranic verse. It's not talking about any ummah in general. It's talking about the Jews, the Bani Israel. So the Israelites are being discussed here, that they are people who are, who are good, ummatu muqtasida, and these are the people who later on professed faith in Prophet Muhammad. But then the Quran says that most of them are those who have evil in themselves and they are not going to profess faith. So it's a comment on them. It's not a general comment.
इसके अलावा सर वैसे उम्मत पे भी,
I mean, you see, other than that, it could be an observation that a person can have. It could be right, it could be wrong, So you see, this verse is not being applied to them. Other than that, it could be, yes, there could be people who are mostly good, there could be people who are mostly bad, and it could be reverse as well. So that's a separate matter and needs analysis on a separate, I would say, scale. But this is a very specific verse.
जी शुक्रिया.
Thank you for that. Dr. Saleem, Ruhi Rasool, please ask your question. Ruhi, do you want to ask your question? Yeah, go ahead.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम.
सर इसमें एक आयत गुजरी है जिसमें ये है कि हाथों के ऊपर से भी खाना और हाथों के नीचे से भी खाना. इसकी मुझे बिल्कुल समझ नहीं आई कि इसका क्या मतलब है.
So the words are not hand, says la'akalu min fawqihim, from above, which means from the heavens. Wa min tahti arjulihim, below their feet, which means from the earth, which means of course that they will receive the blessings of God from everywhere. It's like a metaphorical thing saying that God is going to send down His sustenance and His blessings from the sky, and the earth is going to sprout its blessings for them. Like the treasures of the heaven and the earth will be open for them. It's a metaphorical statement for a lot of sustenance, a lot of rizq, a lot of richness, a lot of wealth from God. Of course, in the form of grain, in the form of produce, and in the form of rain, which is the cause of that produce.
जी सर, बहुत शुक्रिया सर. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Shabnam, your question? Shabnam, do you have a question? Okay.
जी सॉरी, मेरा अनम्यूट नहीं हो रहा था, सॉरी. थैंक यू सर. ये जो अभी शबाना ने बात की, इस्तगफार की, सर व्हाट आई हैव सीन इज कि रैंडमली लोग प्रेस्क्राइब करते हैं हर मुश्किल के हल के लिए इस्तगफार, और दूसरे सर ये कि मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम पीपल आर रिसाइटिंग इट एज अ वजीफा, नॉट एज ए रिपेंटेंस टू देयर सिंस. तो ये भी सर थोड़ा सा है कि वो उसके लिए कर रहे हैं कि हमें मिल जाए. राइट सर, बस
you're right. You see, we are a nation, we are a people who have given ourselves up to wazifas, and that is what we do normally, and that has made us at times unmindful of the things that we need to do to make up for our bad deeds. So it's not just repentance, it is making amends also, and it is also willful and I would say conscious repentance. When you start doing a wazifa, you just don't know what you're doing. But when you consciously repent, you are actually focusing your attention on repentance and you're seeking God's forgiveness. So I think that has also got to be understood, that we should be mindful of whatever zikr, whatever utterances to remember God we undertake, and it should not become an exercise of the tongue.
जी sir, thank you sir.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. So Umar, do you have a question pertaining to the passage?
इस सवाल से मेरा रिलेटेड सवाल है. ओके सर, वो जी शुक्रिया. सो गामदी साहब से मैंने सुना है कि वो कहते हैं कि ये जो वज़ाइफ वगैरह हैं ये दीन का तो हिस्सा नहीं है, लेकिन इसको हर एक के अपने अपने एक्सपेरिमेंट में हम छोड़ सकते हैं. तो सर अगर इस तरह हम छोड़ देंगे तो फिर तो लोग कोई अलग अलग से एक्सपेरिमेंट्स करते रहेंगे, वो इनोवेशन नहीं हो जाएगी?
I don't know what he would have said and what the context is, but as far as I know him as a student, I know that he does not condone these things, and what he might have said is that at times this count that people do is more meant for their own psychological appeasement. So unless I hear his exact words, I just cannot comment, but I know that he does not condone the way we think of wazifas, because you see, when you remember God, it has to be a conscious effort from your own mind, and these wazifas, they tend to, it's like just like pushing the beads of a rosary without even knowing what you are saying in your head, and it becomes like a exercise of the tongue or even your own mind, and it actually makes you distracted from conscious remembrance of God. So I think that conscious remembrance of God is something that we have to aim for rather than counting.
सर वो गालिबन कुरान मजीद की आयत के बारे में फरमा रहे थे.
So as I said, I cannot comment unless I hear his exact words. But as a student, I know his point of view, which I have just summarized before you.
Ji, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. So I'm going to open the forum for open questions. We have 6 or 7 minutes left. I have a chat question, Dr. Saleem. How are Christians different from Quraysh? both believe in one creator, but both worship idols or a creation of God. Are they both amongst the kafir?
There is a world of difference between the Christians and the idolaters of the times of the Prophet. You see, the idolaters, they openly subscribe to more than one creator or more than one God. They said that there are a number of deities. So they subscribed willingly, openly, and emphatically that there is more than one God. The Christians never did this. They said that God is one. However, the way they would say that God is one is that he would say that God has manifested himself in the form of three. He's one, but he's shown himself as three. So that is the difference. Although, of course, this is also not correct, but they never said that God is three. They did not claim that Trinity means that there are three gods. They said it's God is one, and it manifests itself in the form of three Godheads. So this is the difference, and that is precisely why the Quran calls them as monotheists. And there is not a single place in the Quran, not one single place in the Quran in which the Christians are called as mushriks or idolaters. This is the reason that they never subscribe to polytheism in a way that those polytheists did. They said that there's more than one God, but Christians never claimed that there's more than one God. They said that there's one God, but that one God has certain manifestations. So God actually, you can say that he respected their interpretation, did not accept it. He says that, well, this amounts to polytheism, but this does not make them polytheists. So you see, polytheism is your own willful expression that yes, I believe in more than one God. Unless I say this explicitly, I cannot be called a polytheist. So this the Christians never said.
Okay, so basically kuffar are only the people who denied the Prophet in his time, right?
Kuffar means people who intentionally deny the truth. It could be of any time. In the times of the Prophet, they could be pinpointed, because kuffars can only be pinpointed by God, because to deny someone also relates to what is in your heart, and as human beings we can never know what is in the heart of a person. In the times of God's messengers, kuffar become evident because God says, now these are the people who have intentionally denied. There still exist kuffar today, but we just cannot pinpoint them because we don't know whether they are intentionally denying or not. In the times of messengers of God, this thing becomes, irrelevant. Now God is telling the messenger that such and such when people are guilty of deliberate denial.
Okay. Sania Ahmed, please ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, I have a question regarding Surah Baqarah, ayah 2nd. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. There is no doubt this is a guidance for those who are muttaqeen. So muttaqi, this book is a guidance only for the people who are obedient and mindful of Allah, or this is a book, this is a guidance for the whole mankind, Muslims, non-Muslims, for everyone.
Correct.
So, but this ayah refers to that it is a guidance for only those who are mindful of Allah. So, can you please explain this?
So actually the word taqwa has many meanings and it has many stages. It's not referring to piety here. It's not referring to the muttaqun in the sense that we call people as muttaqi. It is referring to those people who actually are mindful of the inner guidance that has been given to them. You see, all of us have a conscience, all of us have awareness of good and evil, and all of us are blessed, or at least given this this feeling that we must find out what the truth is. So a muttaqi person in his very initial form is the one who would like to find out what the truth is. So it is in this meaning that it has been used here, and as such it relates to all people, all mankind, not just Muslims.
Okay.
Any person who has the quest for the truth. So you see, a person who has the quest for the truth is a mindful person, who is a serious person, who does not take things in jest. So muttaqi actually refers to such people.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Dr.
so much.
Saleem.
Thank you very much.
Now, Muhammad Khan, this will be the last question for the day. Please go ahead, Muhammad Khan Saab.
Thank you very much. Doctor, my question is linked with the question of Christians not being mushriks. No, although I'm just a student of Islam and Quran, I don't have that knowledge as you have, mashallah. But I just was thinking, like, in terms of they're stating that they believe that God is manifested in three ways. But when we talk about the belief of salvation through Jesus, and when Jesus was a man, we believe that Jesus was a man, and they raised Jesus to the level of God. And if we have the same metaphors with the Kafirs who believe that statues were expression of God, or there are certain Hindus who say that there is a big one God, but then it is expressed through different statues. So I'm struggling here, because if they believe Jesus is God, it's clear shirk. If they say that.
So that is what the Quran has said. He said you commit shirk, but you are not mushrik. So you see, every mushrik is not, every person who commits shirk does not become a mushrik. That's a very subtle thing that you must understand. Let me give you an example. We are Muslims, but in spite of the fact that we believe in one God, many of us go to the graves of saints and prostrate before them. So what have we done? In spite of being monotheists, we are committing an act of polytheism. So you see, to be a person who basically believes in one God, but still goes to the grave of a saint and bows down before the grave or asks for help from a saint, what is he doing? He is actually committing an act of shirk. So this is what you have to understand, and this is a very subtle thing, and by not understanding it, a lot of confusion has arisen in the interpretation of the Quran. One is being a Muslim and then committing an act of shirk, and one is that you profess that I am a mushrik. These are two separate things. So the idolaters, they never said that we are committing an act of shirk. They said we are mushrik and we believe in more than one God. On the other hand, the Christians, they believed in one God, but the way in which they believed in one God was tantamount, was equivalent to committing shirk. So it's like saying that they are deviant monotheists. Just as a Muslim who goes to the grave of a saint will be called a deviant monotheist. He believes in one God, but he still involves saints and personalities in making dua to them. So he believes in one God, but he still commits an act of shirk. So similarly, Christians, they believe in one God, but by regarding Jesus to be the Son of God, they commit an act of shirk, but don't become Mushrik. Mushrik is something they become when they self-admit to something. Your admission to something makes you what you are. And I think this is, you've raised this question. It's a very important question. You might have joined our session maybe just today, because we have discussed this a number of times, and you might reflect on this more, and if you'll see that if you are able to make this very subtle distinction, it will become very easy for you to understand a lot of complex passages in the Quran. This is precisely what has happened in many cases, that people regard Christians to be mushriks because they see that they have elevated Jesus to be the Son of God. And subhanallah, you'll see that there is not a single place in the Quran, not one single place, where Christians have been called mushriks. Yes, they have been admonished that what you are doing is an act of shirk. You are doing an act of shirk, but because you say that I believe in one God, God has taken their word for it and admonished them. And this is a big lesson for us also, that when people believe in something and for that they provide some reasoning, however foolish that reasoning might be, we should actually not label those people with that particular, I would say, name, but we would say that, well, although you claim to be this, such and such things don't conform to what you claim. So they become non-conformists in certain areas.
Well, thank you for the clarification. I think you have explained that right, because we Muslims, we do not profess polytheism, but still there are a lot of actions which we do.
Which are acts of shirk.
Yeah, I agree with you, because there are a lot of things which Muslims do which can be ascribed as shirk. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. So we're at 9:33. Can I ask a quick question, Dr. Saleem?
Please go ahead.
So tell me, I'm just asking from, taking from Umar's point here. So with wazifa, people usually do the count with a tasbih. So then what is the concept of tasbih? Because tasbih is only meant for counting, which also just goes to the point that wazifas are also in a certain count. So is tasbih just a...
tasbih is our invention. This rosary or tasbih that it's not something that the Prophet ever used. Yes, there is one wazifa that I recall that is the only perhaps authentically ascribed to him, is what we call as the Tasbih Fatima, in which he said that you should, you can say 33 Subhanallah, 33 times Alhamdulillah, and 34 times Allahu Akbar. That is the only correctly reported wazifa from him. And I think that too is something that was meant for concentration, and that is why precisely we have 100 beads in a rosary. they came, I mean, they were manufactured in the sense that the count will be 100, because the hadith says that you have to count 33 and then 33 and then 34. So this makes it 100. And so the tasbih was invented, or the rosary was invented, I think, from this narrative of the Prophet. But it was never done in his times on beads or on a rosary. It was mostly counted on the fingers. And this is the only one that I recall is authentically reported. The rest, of course, a lot of this material has been suggested by scholars. It has no connection with the Prophet himself. A lot of our religious scholars would say, okay, repeat the throne verse or the Ayat al-Kursi 10 times, or say Alhamdulillah 15 times. All this is made up. You'll not find any such any such wazifa going back authentically to the Prophet.
Hence the misuse of the tasbih. That's all I wanted to know, Dr. Saleem. Thank you so much for a wonderful session. It was truly brilliant today. We learned so much. Thank you for your wisdom, and inshallah we'll be